watched me over the years knows that I'm obsessed with Hydrolyte. In my opinion, the best oral rehydration product on the market. I literally use it every day. My family uses it. When I had COVID, I'm telling you, Hydrolyte contributed to my recovery, kept me hydrated. Now, with things finally reopening back around the country, the potential exposure to the common cold is always around. And like always, Hydrolyte has got your back. Hydrolyte Plus Immunity, my new favorite, starts with their fast-absorbing electrolytes and adds a host of great ingredients. Plus, each single-serving easy-pour drink mix contains 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, 300 milligrams of elderberry extract. Hydrolyte Plus Immunity comes in convenient, easy-to-pour sticks that rapidly dissolve in water, make a great-tasting drink, has 75% less sugar than your typical sports drink. It uses all-natural flavors, gluten-free, dairy-free, caffeine-free, non-GMO, and even vegan. Hydrolyte Plus Immunity is also now available in ready-to-drink bottles at the Walmart next to the pharmacy, or as always, you can find it by visiting hydrolyte.com/Dr. Drew. Again, that is HYDRALYTE.com/DRDREW. Be sure to use the code Dr. Drew 25 for a special discount.
Hey everyone, it's a dose of Dr. Drew.
Again, there we are.
Sorry, there's
mic
your mic
is on and everything. Appreciate you guys for being here. We are setting up a Clubhouse at the same time, and we will take calls. People just raise their hands to be called up to the podium to ask questions. And if you are in the Clubhouse, you'll be simultaneously streaming on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch and whatever's left of Periscope. I guess it'd be Twitter. Okay, so I'm looking at your questions on the restream before I go to Clubhouse. And by the way, Clubhouse, you need to raise your hand for me to get you up to the podium here. Delta variant. Delta variant is more contagious. It is still an airborne illness. It is not, none of the coronavirus. This coronavirus is transmitted other than through the air, from the respiratory system into the respiratory system. That's how it works. And so Delta is no different. Delta is more virulent, and there will be more virulent strains coming. The more virulent, that's just how viruses work, right? One takes over, and when it has even a small percentage more virulence, it will take over. It will be the dominant variety that's out there. Now, we need to worry about two things about these so-called variants, which is one, you have to worry that the natural immunity will not adequately cover that. Two, you have to worry about the vaccines adequately covering it. And three, you have to worry about the virus being more deadly, more virulent. None of those things appear to be true about Delta, except that the press can't get enough of the panic porn, so they keep throwing it out there as though it's something that implies the end of the world. For those of you who have not been vaccinated, it's a more serious issue. It's more likely you're going to get infected. But as always, if you're a young person, the infection is not likely to be very significant. However, I think everyone's beginning to understand that the long hauler thing is perhaps more than the average person is aware of. Having had the long haul syndrome, I will tell you it's not fun. It's a pain in the ass. Now, I found ways out of it, and there are things to be done. If you have long hauler COVID, go to covidlonghauler.com, and Dr. Patterson and Dr. Yo can help you out there. They're using a number of different things, as we've talked about. Oh, good, Margaret, you got your first dose vaccine. Good. We've had, they use Maravirac, ivermectin. They use, they're using steroids. They're using, I don't know if they're using tocilizumab. I don't think they are. They're using fluvoxamine, and they're using these things in different combinations. Fluvoxamine helped me a great deal. That's Steve Kirsch's medication that he funded the research for. I don't see Steve.
Hey, we're back on YouTube, so let's try to not use the words today.
Okay, 1 second. Any event, we were away and we had a great time. Susan, did we not? Yes? Hello?
I'm sorry, what? I was listening to sound. Wait, what?
We were away and we had a nice time, no?
Oh, yeah. We need to talk about our trip.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So, what do you want to say?
You start.
I
don't know where to start.
I needed it very badly. It was very fun. It couldn't have been better. It gave me a little bit of the travel bug, so we may do some more stuff coming up. I had this very strange thing with languages, so I've talked about this a little bit on these streams before. So I had long hauler, I had extreme fatigue, and that got better on fluvoxamine. That really helped me with fluvoxamine, but I still had this very strange fogginess. And it was hard to characterize in that I had good memory, I had good learning, but I still had a sense something wasn't right. And I, as a result, started thinking, well, I don't know, it felt like a joint that needed to be worked out. And so I thought, do I need to go back to the piano, or is it a motor thing? I should take up dance or something. Or then I thought, we're going to Greece. I'm going to take up Greek language. And so I started working on it, and within a few weeks, it helped it lift. It really did. It was very weird that my fogginess kind of lifted, and my language acquisition was way easier than I remember languages ever being. Now, I think everyone's heard of people getting hit in the head and then waking up with the ability to speak a language or having a weird accent or something. I think I've said from the beginning that COVID is like a head injury for people over the age of 50, particularly. And as such, it's like getting hit with a baseball bat. And so I think it had something to do with that. So one of the things that sort of jumped out at me is when I went to Greece and started using the language. And Susan, we have not discussed this, although we've discussed it. We just haven't discussed that I was going to bring this up. So I have not led the witness yet. Within about a minute or so of me speaking Greek, what did most people say?
Great accent.
Great accent. And I didn't work on the accent.
They were totally bullshitting you.
No, Susan.
Oh, you have a great accent.
No, they weren't.
Yeah, right.
I questioned
Here,
some of them
tip
about
me.
it. So I didn't work on the
Except for
accent.
when you were in a bar in New York and you talked to the Greek guy and he was like, yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah, like I wasn't having it of anything. But the accent, which is the thing I most associate with head injuries, I didn't work on accent.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about accent.
No, you did a great job. You were really
so
speaking the language. They were like, what?
That is weird. And so I'm gone back to French, which is my second language, and I'm trying to really nail it down. Now, it's not coming that easy, I got to say. That whatever was happening there seems to have sort of slowed down a little bit. But again, to those of you in the audience,
You got home and you went back into a brain fog?
No, it's just that the language acquisition wasn't as crazy good as it was. Which just
you did
was
a
weird.
fabulous job.
It was just weird. So we've got a big
bullshit your way through Greece, and it was awesome.
Right. Ala Axizi, for those of you that do speak Greek.
What does that mean?
You have to go learn it.
Fuck you. Is that what you-
No. We're on YouTube now. We can't say things like that.
Oh, I can
So
say
let's
whatever I want.
let me go.
Oh, yeah. Hi, everybody on YouTube. Welcome back. If you missed the last show, we were under a strike. We didn't see Andrew, so maybe you missed the last show. If you did, you have to go back and check it out. It was we had a really good interview with Dr. Pierre Corey.
Right, and let me just tell you
Dr. Yo.
Yes, and with Corey, I just want you to know that he gave thorough interviews on the Black Horse podcast and on Joe Rogan's podcast, so I didn't want to revisit all that stuff. What we talked about was what the hell has happened to medicine and our peers. And that was a very interesting conversation. You should take a look at it.
Yeah, so we tried to get everybody over to Twitch or Facebook or, wherever else we do it, Twitter.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody on Twitter. But, I know some people probably missed it because I know. But if you missed it, check it out. It was a really good interview.
To White Nubian, your brother Nick, happy birthday.
So what else did you like about the trip besides the fact that you can now speak Greek?
I liked everything about it.
God bless you.
I like spending time with you.
It was actually non-eventful, so it was like
it
was like nothing happened except we had to have 3 COVID tests during that week.
Right.
But
the Greek government. We were the first ship. We went on a cruise ship after we spent time in Santorini. We had dinner with Scott.
First when we got on the ship, we had to all get a COVID test, and this woman who was given the test went way up into your brain.
Yeah.
And nobody had it. Nobody got on the ship with it, so nobody had to go home. Then on Wednesday, we left on a Saturday. On Wednesday, they were like, okay, the Greek government wants you to take another COVID test. So we all had to be in our room at 2:30, take another COVID test. Funny thing, nobody had it. And then Friday, we had to do it again before we came back to the States to get back on the plane. And,
more damn tests.
Nobody had it. So the vaccine works, everybody. Just remember that. I mean, we were off the ship. We were in a foreign country, we were on airplanes, we were in boat rides, we were, everywhere. And lo and behold, nobody tested positive. 80 passengers and the crew, 250 crew.
And Mur F on the restream here is saying that CDC has said so far, VAERS is confirmed only 12.6 in 1 million chance of under 40 getting life-threatening heart side effects from mRNA vaccine. Yes, that sounds exactly reasonable. Look, when you vaccinate hundreds of millions of people, maybe billions of people, there are going to be side effects. You have to understand this one thing about medicine. We do bad shit to prevent worse shit. That's just what,
you and
that's
Dr.
what
Corey
all medication,
agreed on that yesterday.
all medicines are bad. They're dangerous. That's why the risk reward has to be in favor of using them, because the thing you're trying to treat has to be significantly worse. So long as the illness is worse than the vaccine, the issue though is, how do you render informed consent? This is where I agree with Steve Kirsch a little bit, that you've got to have the information so you can render the informed consent, so you can develop a consent that is based in fact. And the reality is, if you're age 12 and you're not going to get COVID, but you could only potentially put yourself at risk of a side effect, even though it's very rare, you might choose not to take the vaccine in that case. But I'm still strongly in favor of the vaccine. I could not be more strongly in favor of it. It's restoring our lives. It's restoring the world. It's saving lives. And it has some side effects. And it does. And I think, and I would have said, and would have said from the beginning, time for all of us to, wearing a mask is nothing, ladies and gentlemen. Stand up and take the vaccine on behalf of everybody else. If you're worried about the vaccine, you should still stand up and take the vaccine to squash this pandemic and reduce replication, so there's no more variants afoot. So that's all I'm saying. No, Puffin, I don't think that's the blood clot issue.
Let's talk to it.
Okay, let's go on Clubhouse, and we're going to talk to Fatma. Those of you in the audience, again, at Clubhouse, you are going to be put on a restream here, which is YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. And let's see. I have some weird technical problems with my phone, and I asked for.
Are you on the right?
I am. I asked for Fatma to come up, and he's disappeared. Try him again.
Maybe he left.
Let me try again. Fatma. Okay. Well, so much for my Clubhouse. I'm going to try something a little different. I'm going to bring Kevin up. Kevin, are you there?
Kevin, can you hear me?
Right. Kevin, how's it going there?
Okay.
Maybe it's
Hello, mister.
There you
There
are.
he is.
Hello, doctor.
We hear you. What's happening, Kevin? Where are you right now?
I'm at Indonesia, and it is bad here. Very, very bad.
Oh no.
A lot of people are dying, and a lot of my friends, a lot of my family members too.
Sorry.
And yeah, it's hard, but that's mostly because our government didn't prepare for this. They didn't prepare a lockdown before this corona getting higher again. You see that there is a moment where this corona seems to have begun, right? At February until May.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at that moment, the Indonesian government doesn't seem to want to do a lockdown.
Well, people debate the efficacy of lockdowns, but there's not much debate about the efficacy of vaccines. So are they getting the vaccine in Indonesia?
Yes, they are getting the vaccines, but there are a rule about people who got COVID shall not take vaccines until after 3 months after their COVID.
That's generally the recommendation. That is, and in fact, it's not even clear that they need it at all. But you do want to wait about 3 months. In fact, if your country is having trouble getting enough vaccine, that's the population you may be wanting to wait even longer on, so you can get everybody else vaccinated. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and in my country, vaccines are only for 18 above. There is no indication of children getting COVID, right?
Correct. In fact, the risk to under 12 seems to be nil.
Oh, there is zero risk.
No.
Under 12.
No, well, not zero, but the very limited risk. And the question always is, can they transmit it, and can the virus replicate? And yeah, they could. It could, but it's not nearly as important as getting adults, and particularly older adults, vaccinated.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Did he say 18 and above or 80 and above?
I think he said 8.
18 above.
18 above. Oh, I thought you said 8. Yeah,
18.
8 seemed a little aggressive to me, but 18 and above that's an okay thing if you're having trouble getting everybody vaccinated. I think it's a reasonable thing because the kids don't get sick.
And it's also important that you take C, D, and the
zinc and
Zelenko
quercetin, yeah.
protocol.
Well,
Basically,
it may be helpful. It may be helpful around the margins.
The
yes.
zinc and the
That's right.
quercetin.
And there's going to be an antiviral drug soon. I believe one of the drug companies is doing research in Indonesia with antivirals. I know they're doing it in India. And so this antiviral, if it gets going, this could really be the answer.
So are they locking everybody down there?
He said they are now.
They are? Yeah.
So
that's
we
bad.
the other thing that was great about the trip is we met a lot of fun people, right, Susan?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, like Indonesia is a very hot, humid place and they have to be inside for air conditioning. So that it might, even though being outside is clearly better if you can, if it's not too hot.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what's the weather like there.
I don't know. However,
Is
what
he
I
gone?
want to say, yes, what I want to say is that one of the people we met was a pediatrician, and he was mortified that anybody was making anything of COVID in a pediatric age population.
Yeah, for
He
sure.
was just like, this is like nothing.
Well, it could be dangerous for children to give them the vaccine. We want to have more.
No, don't say that. Don't say that.
I said could be.
No,
Not it is.
No, it's that given that COVID doesn't cause any harm, the vaccine's very slight risk might be not worth it.
Right. That's
given the.
I wouldn't give it to my kid. That would be me.
But don't let that fuel vaccine hesitancy in adults. That's sort of silly.
I was talking to Jordan about it. And he said probably at the school they went to, they'd have to get it, especially if they wanted to play football or be in the musical or whatever.
Okay.
Or, just they probably would have a choice, but they wouldn't be able to do anything that was, in a large group of people.
So again, those of you in the audience at Clubhouse, if you want to come up and speak, ask questions, ask anything you like, just raise your hand and I will bring you up here. But realize that if you do come up to the podium, you'll be on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and where else? Facebook.
So Drew, tell the story about how when we were flying into Santorini, and we stopped in Germany to get a cup of coffee in between.
So I thought one of the things I learned on this trip was that the United States is not, California sucks. California is out of control. And I thought no one was worse than California in terms of their incompetence and their arbitrariness. Turns out there's another California. It's called Germany.
Well, it's not Florida or Germany,
it's
It's California or Germany.
and we were in an airport in a large, there are these large corridors you walk down, and in the middle of a corridor was a coffee shop.
Out in the same corridor.
Same corridor, people sitting shoulder to shoulder, probably
In a restaurant.
100 people in that restaurant packed in. Nobody wearing a mask. They're all eating, of course, so no one's wearing a mask. We are wearing a surgical mask. The staff at the restaurant are wearing surgical masks. We wait in line to get to the front. The table I'm going to sit at is closer than that camera is to me. It was 2 steps. And I get to the front of the line, and the woman looks at me and goes, "You have to have one of these." And
N95.
She points at an N95 picture. And I go, "You're wearing a surgical mask. I have a surgical mask on. What do you mean? You have to have this." I go, "You're going to put me at that table right there, right down there. The 2 steps away, and I'm going to take the mask off as soon as I get to the table. You have to have the N95." So we had to go. They're like, "Go to the pharmacy and buy it." So we had to go to the pharmacy.
A big walk.
It was a big walk, and I had to go to the pharmacy, buy an N95.
I don't know why they didn't.
And then we didn't have time. We just gave up.
No, we came back and there was a line, and I said, forget it. Let's go.
Right.
So we went and got some coffee, and we went into the first class lounge, and then we had to have it there too. So it actually worked out.
Right.
But they were everybody was like very careful in the airport.
And in terms of meeting people, when we were in Santorini, we had dinner with Scott Adams and his lovely wife, Christina, twice. They bought us
ironic that
they bought us dinner one night unexpectedly. We didn't know they were going to do that. And I was like, "Oh, dude, that means we have to have dinner again." He said, "How about tomorrow night?" We're like, "All right, see what tomorrow night." Or you said it, right? You said it. That's right.
We're like, "Well, where do you live? What do you?"
I know they live in Northern California.
We hung out. That was fun.
That was fun. It was fun getting, really especially fun getting.
I want to get him on the show. I guess I should ask him.
Let's get Christina on the show. We'll get her in here too.
Yeah.
She never talks to anybody. She never gets a chance. Scott's doing all the talking. It's like, you can share with her. You and she ought to do a show. That would be interesting. Or come on, Where My Mom's At. Christina and Susan on Where My Mom's At would be very
I don't think Christina's doing that these days. So.
Okay. So anyway, we had a nice time, and then we met a very lovely 5 couples on the ship that we hung out with.
We got on the ship. The first people on the ship were all like 80 and above, and I was like, we're like the young spring chickens here. Yeah. So I was like, Drew, we need to make friends at the beginning. So you
sent me around.
Yeah. So Drew tap danced his way through the ship and made friends with like 5 couples.
Now the question is,
and then we all became friends and hung out together, but they were all like half our age. So
was that COVID making me more gregarious?
I don't know. You seemed very chatty. You were, but you're also you do podcasts every day and you talk all day. So I think you were just kind of still in that, manic stage of
chatty
getting
mode.
into. Well, we were together alone pretty much for 5 days in a row. So you were really excited to meet other people. But I don't know. I mean, we got lucky because the islands were just pretty much desolate, very quiet. And I want to say desolate, but quiet. And the normal cruise ship people weren't running through. So we kind of had it all to ourselves. It was nice.
Santorini we're talking about.
Yeah. So it wasn't like super high, like Mykonos wasn't like the party thing you always hear about or whatever because there were no people.
Right.
And we went by Lindsay Lohan's beach club.
Yes, we did.
Took a picture.
Maybe we can put that picture up.
Cat Timpf goes, maybe you should go to Lindsay Lohan's beach club. And we'd already paid for this other one. So I put it on my Instagram or on your Instagram, I think. But that was fun. We got to peek in. We looked inside, and then we texted her husband. I texted
really
her
pretty.
dad,
Yeah.
and he goes, "Oh, you should have told me. Lindsay would have taken care of you." And I was like, "Oh gosh, I don't know that."
It was really pretty.
It was
nice
beautiful.
place.
It was really beautiful. But the islands are starting to open up, and they're very excited to get back to normal. And
Yeah, there were a lot of Americans.
great food, by the way. If you guys want to get really healthy, yummy food, go to Greece. Definitely a plus.
So MB on the Restream lives in Turkey, and we wanted to go to Turkey. It was supposed to be one of our stops, but it closed down while we were essentially at sea.
Oh, I would like we were supposed to go to Ephesus, but they closed down the border, the sea border or whatever they call it.
So I'm going to take some more calls from.
It wasn't totally open yet, but being on a ship is a really good opportunity to see stuff and not
Randall, what's going on?
Hey, yeah. I really want to say, first off, thanks for doing this.
Sure.
I've been a big fan for a long time.
You bet.
Wanted to ask a question. How did we get it so wrong at the beginning? Just, as we try and get this idea of this normalcy, like this, I keep hearing, let's get back to normal.
Yeah.
I'm afraid.
Well, let's talk about it.
Parent,
That's the way it always is in pandemics, right? I mean, I had lived through a pandemic where I was treating a disease that had a 100% fatality rate. That was called. We weren't even calling it AIDS yet. We didn't even know what it was, and we knew it had a 100% fatality, and we got that all wrong too. It's just the public wasn't aware of how that rolled out. So that was, full of twists and turns and errors, just like this one was. When you say getting it wrong, which part do you think we got the most wrong? Because there were all kinds of things we got wrong.
The information out to parents about what to do, the information about how transmissible it was. I mean,
right.
There's knowledge that we knew in January that it was very dangerous, but we didn't take any action till March.
So we didn't know how it was transmitted, right? That's why Fauci famously said, "Don't wear a mask," because at that point we were thinking it was transmitted like influenza, which is primarily on hands. We don't use masks for influenza because we don't want your hands going to your face. So that's why the no mask thing came out early. That was wrong. That was just a mistake. That was wrong. Turns out and I think how many months we spent with people talking about rubbing down your groceries and
Clorox wipes.
Yeah, I mean all the fomite transmission and all the surface stuff, which was all a zero. I will tell you, in Western Europe, they're still preoccupied about that, even though we know that's a zero. So I mean, I from my standpoint, the thing we got most wrong was allowing bureaucrats to have all the say. That's a giant mistake.
Yeah.
That's a giant mistake because not just because they're often wrong, they're not clinicians oftentimes. They don't know how to make risk-reward analyses, and they don't change course. They don't know how to adjust and adapt, and something that we do clinically all the time. So that was a major, major flaw in the entire run of this whole thing, that doctors ceded their responsibility to bureaucrats. We've never done that before. It's a giant mistake. The infectivity, if you remember, the original predictions from the Oxford University group was 2 million deaths in the United States. Guaranteed, guaranteed 2 million deaths. It's coming no matter what. That was their position. And I took a excessively aggressive stance against that because I knew that would not happen. But I didn't fully understand the quality, the contagiousness of this thing. Then lockdowns, we still don't know if that was right.
Yeah, but remember when they were like, "Oh, we're only going to be locked down for a month, so we'll do a month, and then everybody will be back."
We still don't know if
It
lockdowns
started
were
at 2
right.
weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be a 2 week to flatten the curve. But we still don't know if lockdowns were good, and yet people are still. The WHO came out strongly against lockdowns, and yet people keep doing them. Masks do work. There's a lot of good data to show they do work, but they don't work a lot. And there's debate about what kind of mask you ought to have. And so that's kind of weird. Outdoors is where we should be in terms of preventing transmission of this thing. And yet part of lockdown was no one was allowed to go outside. In California, the height of incompetence was exemplified when they allowed us to go back to the beach, but you couldn't lay a towel down. Couldn't put a towel down.
We talked about this yesterday with Dr. Corey, too.
Couldn't put a towel down. That is a level of incompetence that is just grotesque.
If you want to see the show on, I would go to Facebook or Twitter. You could find.
Anyway, so you're right. It was confusing. There was a lot of stuff wrong. It was difficult to say. So are you asking what do we do if it comes back in the fall?
Well, my concern is right now. I mean, I'm in Kansas City.
Yeah.
To the right of me, is Missouri, where the infection rates are now back to where they were in January.
Yep.
Hospitals are filling back up again. And it's funny that you mentioned, I try to stay apolitical about this, but the bureaucrats being involved, the places that went red, they have the highest infection rates now. So in Kansas and Missouri. And
these are the places that have that's where all the resistance to vaccination is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a mistake. That's a terrible problem.
And I'm just worried that this Delta variant is going to, my kids are vaccinated. I'm vaccinated. We have one that's not old enough to be vaccinated.
Yeah.
He's the one I'm concerned about.
No, don't. The Delta virus is no different than any of the other ones. It's just more contagious. That's all.
Just give him vitamin C and D. And
how old is he?
He will be 10.
Yeah, as I told you, I was on a cruise ship with a pediatrician for 7 days, and he was mortified that anyone worried at all about the pediatric age groups with COVID. He just was like beyond mortified that anybody was focused on that or prevented them from going to school.
If they get it, they get a runny nose, and they go, they don't even know they have it.
So the multi-system inflammation syndrome, that's not a real thing?
That is a real thing. It is so rare. It is so rare. And by the way, more in teenagers than little kids. It is so rare. And by the way, pediatricians, I saw a case of multi-system inflammation, and it immediately went down as multi-system inflammation. And I looked at the case and said, this is typhus. This is typhus. This isn't. They're so quick to call everything COVID. They missed. We're in the middle of a typhus outbreak in California, and the kid had typhus. But pediatricians aren't used to seeing typhus, so they put everything in multi-system. So anyway, the point is, it's very rare, very unusual.
I feel for you though. When you have a younger kid and you're dealing with this, it's just,
it's scary.
It's heart-wrenching. You just have to make the right choice. And, what if I'm wrong and should get vaccinated? We feel for you. Like, I had triplets. I swear to God, if I had 3 8-year-olds right now, I'd just be like losing my mind just for the fact of being in quarantine for a year and a half. But yeah, you gotta make these decisions and, but also not be too fearful for them,
As an addiction specialist, Dr. Drew, what is your fear of this pandemic creating a new pandemic?
It's already happening.
It's on. It's already on. We had massive increase in alcohol consumption and massive increase in opiate deaths.
That's the new problem.
It's just gone way off the chart.
That's the new normal.
And that was highly predicted. I saw that That was one of the reasons.
And a lot of liver
That was
disease.
the reason I pushed back so hard on some of the things people were demanding in the press, which was essentially the policies of the Chinese government in Wuhan, which I thought, oh my God, that is not a medical intervention. I don't know what that was, but no textbook would ever recommend that kind of behavior.
Right.
And it would have huge mental health impact.
I know I'm drinking a lot more.
Which it has had. Are you going to be able to get that under control? Or we have to put you in treatment. So
I just came off a cruise, honey. So yeah, I'm
what's that?
Thank you for taking my my question.
Yeah, buddy.
I appreciate it.
You got it. Good luck with this. I'm glad you're all vaccinated. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine.
Have a happy 4th of July, everybody.
Yes.
Seriously. It's the
sure.
Independence Day.
Yeah.
Take off your mask and
Celebrate
kiss somebody.
freedom. Okay, let me see here.
Andrew wants to know if I'm still thinking about moving to Texas.
No, we're sort of here. We're sort of here now.
Yeah, but you're going to have to go do your mom's house once
In Austin.
a month.
In Austin, yep.
So we'll be there.
Yep.
I don't know.
We will be spending more time in Austin with the
Is there a
Seguros.
good hotel in Austin I should get a, monthly reservation
I don't know how they're going to do that. That's an interesting question, but
Are we staying with the Seguros?
another
I have
good
to
question.
babysit.
I don't know. We might have to babysit. I'm having a tough time.
Okay, I won't be going then. No.
I've tried again to get Fatma up here, and it's not working. So
sorry.
let's try.
We went to a cool wedding celebration last night. We went to our first
Sangeet.
Sangeet. I've called it sangria. I've called it sangeet, and it's like when I couldn't say Ia, which is OIA, and then I call
it's a city in Santorini.
Oi. Anyways, Mark Garagos' daughter is marrying an Indian man, like a really, big, extensive Indian family. And they put on the groom puts on a party a couple days before the wedding, and a couple more like the whole week. They've been at parties all week, but it was really fun because everybody's dressed up in their Indian saris, and they had the what do they call the thing that goes between their on their little forehead, the little jewel on the forehead.
I don't know. I should know.
Oh gosh.
I feel.
Oh my God.
I felt like all the Caucasian folks doing that were being culturally appropriative of it. So
no, they liked it, and
okay.
And they wanted us to do that,
Okay.
and I didn't do it, but I don't have a sorry. I'm not sorry.
Sorry, you don't have sorry.
Yeah, sorry, no sorry. But yeah, it was really fun. But it's sort of like a roast of the groom. So they put on like this fantastic sort of
musical review.
Yeah, a musical review of life, and they did a skit on the on the Newlywed Game, and they did a skit. They did all these skits, and then the Garagoses came on and did their side, and it was like wah wah.
Jacob, of course Tom pushed Christina down the stairs. What do you think? Just coincidentally, both of them get major orthopedic injuries within 3 months of each other?
He didn't.
Of course he pushed her down the stairs.
No, he didn't. Why would you say that?
You need to watch more Your Mom's House.
He did not push her down the stairs.
Right. That
He
is true.
didn't?
No, he did not.
Okay, good. Good. Oh my God, you're
Wow.
scaring me.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Like I said, you need to go back on.
Yeah, Christine stole Tom's injury valor for sure.
Yeah, the Seguros go down hard. They do. Oh yeah, Andrew Ashkashvili is asking for a big Strike Back party in Las Vegas. I think that should happen. I really do.
I know it can happen. We were gonna try for September, but then I found out you have a wedding that weekend.
Oh.
And then now you want to go to France, so it's not gonna happen then.
Yeah.
It's too hot anyways in September. You just got to be like.
We'll figure it out.
Fall.
Let's see. Somebody was there. It's Danny was asking about a calf pain. Calf. That is Danny. That is usually a plantaris muscle tear. It's no big deal. Of course, you have somebody take a look at it, make sure it's not a blood clot. But that would show up as the leg swelling and getting red and hot and that kind of thing. But calf muscles, tears in the soleus and the plantaris are exceedingly common, and they hurt to walk on for quite a while. Okay.
We could have a party in France.
Yeah. So I'm having trouble getting people to come up to the
Anybody want to ask a question on Clubhouse?
No, I can't get. It won't work. It's not working for some
Why?
reason. I don't know. Let me try this.
Can they hear you?
Yeah, it looks like it. Charles, let's try Charles. Okay, Charles came up. Charles, go ahead.
There's always a little
Hello.
delay.
Hey, man.
Yes, I
Yeah.
have 2 questions in regards to low-grade fever.
Yep.
First is, do you view a low-grade fever from an infection more as a symptom of the infection or as part of the immune response to the
So
infection?
people argue about this all the time, and by low grade, what are you talking about?
Well, I'm a radiation oncologist, but I'm not a
Yeah.
specialist in this.
Yeah.
I would say 100.3 or
Okay.
below.
So over 100, it obviously, much like the cytokine system is an inflammatory system designed to help fight the viral infection, it can spiral out of control. Same thing with fever. We don't know whether fever improves the immune response and actually helps fight the virus, or if fever is just an incidental or ancillary response to the immune activation. But we do know once you get over 103, it starts to be like the cytokine storm. It starts to have problems associated, particularly in the brain. And so, horse, cart, we don't really know. We don't spend a lot of energy lowering low-grade fevers. Although if people feel particularly uncomfortable with that low-grade fever, you might give them something to lower an adult, not a child, an adult, to lower the fever, just because it's not clear that having a fever is necessarily beneficial. Does that make sense?
Yes, I always assumed, take Tylenol if you have
Yeah.
low-grade fever.
Yeah.
But watching all these videos about COVID, and some people have been saying that, maybe for a low-grade fever, 99.2, 99.3, something like that. It's their view is that we really don't know, and that
we really don't know. That's exactly correct.
they're thinking that it's part of the immune system, and that if you take the Tylenol, that you are attenuating the immune system and possibly limiting your body's ability to fight the infection. Which I had never heard of this before. I thought it was fascinating. And
it's been debated.
One of the
been
bits of information that they proposed to argue for this had to do with cold-blooded animals. And what they said with cold-blooded animals is that when they develop an infection, they seek warm environments.
There's some reason we've developed this adaptation, but I will tell you, having treated many, many thousands of infections, often with low-grade fever, and it's been studied extensively, it's neither here nor there. It really isn't. Until you get a very high fever, then clearly the risks of suppressing immune response are very much outweighed by the benefits of lowering the temperature. So I just use the person suffering as the guide, because suffering's not okay either. Right?
No.
And so if people are suffering, even if it's a low-grade fever, I would help them out, because it's not clear that having a low-grade fever does anything, really. It really isn't. And by the way, we have the same argument for corticosteroids as it pertains to, again, COVID and many other active diseases. And yet, even though you're using a sledgehammer to suppress the immune response with corticosteroids, they work. And sometimes they work a lot. And so this is really kind of as the physiological soup is not a single pathway. It's a very complex web, and it's like it's like a cloud. People don't understand. It's like a cloud, not like a narrative. It's like trying to predict what shape a cloud's going to take minute to minute. It's all probabilities, and when you study it, you can kind of see what falls out. You had to see out a second question, Charles?
Well, I mean, this is part of my frustration with this whole thing. Is this? I just asked you a very, very basic question. And it just frustrates me that with all this junk about masks, all this junk, nobody wanted to do like a study to answer this basic question. I mean, if somebody has a temperature of 99 and they're not suffering that much, they happen not to be in that much pain, should they be given Tylenol or not?
Yeah, people have done that. People have looked at that. But not in this illness, not with this illness that I know of.
Okay. And what did they find?
It doesn't really matter. It's not a big deal. No signal falls out. Hey, let me tell you something. I'm starting SBRT in about 2 weeks for a little local recurrence of prostate cancer.
Yes.
Any advice?
You're at the best place.
Yeah,
Just,
UCLA.
you should do well.
Yeah.
I think the only problem possibly is a little bit of frequency.
Yeah, that's what they said.
And
That's what they said.
What's
that
frequency?
Like I want to pee more frequently.
Yeah.
more so that you may get up more at night. So you may have some fatigue related to that. But as far as like the volume of tissue being is tiny.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and as far as like vital organs, it's none.
Yeah. So I feel very. They're starting out. They had a protocol just started just now, and I was like, I'll take it. Put me in the SBRT protocol.
Okay, but I have a question because he has to get a treatment, and then we have to jump on a plane for like with a connection to South Dakota for the Freedom Fest, and I mean, is that going to be a tough ride?
No. I mean, no.
Yeah. See, Susan doesn't believe me. You're saying the same thing. There are other radiation oncologists I'm working with are saying.
When I drive, I always seem to want to go pee more. Something
but there's a toilet on the plane.
You should know I have.
Plane,
as long as we're getting into the clinical stuff here, I have zero urinary symptoms post prostatectomy.
I know
zero.
But I hated it when you had those.
But in a plane, no, I never get that.
Yeah, me neither.
That's good.
Well, Charles, thank you. Keep fighting the good fight, man. You just keep thinking. Right. There are many questions that weren't answered, and people are wondering about it. And I see two things afoot. One is when there's no money, at the end of the rainbow, so to speak. There's no funds for the research. Number one, and number two, when the bureaucrats don't want it, it doesn't happen. And why they're so ossified is very hard to understand. Jonathan, you made it up here. Thanks, Charles. Jonathan, you had a question?
Yeah, actually, that's pretty crazy. Thanks for letting me come up.
You bet.
I had seen you growing up, on TV, and it's pretty crazy to be in the same room, so I appreciate it.
Sure.
I don't know exactly what my question was really, but I struggle with addiction myself, and I found that, I have really bad addiction to like the oxy pills, the opioids, and I saw that it definitely got a lot worse during the pandemic, and I almost feel like I'm at just a place of just like hopelessness where I've known that I've needed to get help for so long, but like I work and I'm trying to maintain my life, but it's like, I'm like barely holding on by a thread for a while now.
What do you mean? Just tell me more what you mean by holding on by a thread.
I don't mean like suicidal or anything like that. I just mean like for some reason, some way I've been able to like have a job and make money, and obviously all the money I make goes towards...
Your disease wants to progress, and you're holding on by a thread. Would that be about right?
Yeah. I suppose so, yeah.
So have you tried Suboxone?
Yeah, I have. I would want it to be something that's like a short-term thing to just get me off it and not be on that for long-term.
Have you tried it?
I have, yeah.
And what happened? You go back?
Yeah, that's the thing. And it's like, I want to go to a detox or I want to go to treatment, but I want to make sure when I do go, I'm not just going to come right back out and use again.
Right. So the reason that people are really serious about getting into recovery is they'll go somewhere for a long time, be in a structured environment for 6 months at least, because you're right, for those few months afterwards, it really is tough. The other alternative is to just get on a low dose of Suboxone and stay on that. I mean, you can still do recovery programming and sort of work on yourself on a little bit of Suboxone. I mean, if you're on 16 milligrams a day, that's a lot. If you're on 8, I'm not super comfortable with that. But if you're below 4, I mean,
at least you can get that quality of life.
Yeah, you really, and if it suppresses the drive, that you're struggling with, I mean, that's a pretty good thing. You still have to do some stuff. You need to get a therapist and or go to meetings and that kind of thing. It's unfortunate. It's a disease that takes a lot of work. But I don't know. I'd take a good look at that. The problem with the point you're at here, this is the problem, my friend, is this is a progressive illness. It's not a static illness. It's a progressive illness. And that's what you're struggling with right now. It wants to keep growing. And it will. I promise you, it will. Which is why you have to be very proactive with this thing, okay?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
There are people out there that can help, my friend. There really are. Just go right now. Go to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting on Zoom and raise your hand. Say, I'm struggling. And you'll find a lot of people that know what you're dealing with and are happy to help. Let's see. Let me get Vashon up here.
We have a ton of people on Clubhouse.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us today.
It's a nice big room. Hi, Vashon.
Hi.
Hey there.
Hi. I'm so excited to be up here and speaking with you. This has been amazing.
Thank you.
And I just had to come up here because I am really curious on your thoughts about the long-term cultural and societal impact that the COVID-19 epidemic, a pandemic, however you want to describe it, will impact us. As far as like how do we interact with each other? One of the things that you mentioned is you were talking about the initial result of like more drug and alcohol use because of depression and isolation and so forth. But ultimately, we're going to do things differently. Like we're not hugging anymore. Every time someone sneezes or coughs, we look crazy versus pat them on the back. Like how will this change us? As culturally, and what will that mean, in the future?
Yeah, it is almost impossible to predict, I'd say. I noticed that if 6 months ago I would have predicted that hugging and handshakes were over. Having moved around the country a bit lately, hugging and handshakes are back big time. People are making a point to do that because they miss it so much. Now, are there going to be other changes? Absolutely. I feel like this whole experience sort of shook us up in some extraordinary way. And a lot of things that people are thinking about that they didn't even know to think about a year ago, right? And some of it's good and some of it's not so good. I think mostly, I don't know, I'm so optimistic. I feel like once we get on the other side of this, the things that were difficult about this will raise our awareness of things we should have been aware of in the first place. Something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious. I don't have an idea either because
I will tell you one thing
not sure
for
how we're going to respond.
one thing for sure is that here's a good example of this. I have not done a lot of thinking about this because it's so hard to predict and it's changed so much over the last 6 months. But I will tell you for sure, people value their relationships in a wholly different way than they did before. Both their relationships with their elderly kin and with people they like to spend time with. And there's a group, I don't know what else to call this, but there's people who are sort of, maybe this isn't the right word, but value their freedom to move about. Like we noticed when we went to Europe, there were people there like, oh, I'm just so anxious to move around. I just want to move about. I can do it now, and I want to do it, even though they might not have done anything for years and years. Suddenly they want to, because of that. So I don't know what that's going to do. My hope is it'll make the world culturally a smaller place where people would get exposed more to each other's cultures and things. It's weirdly made me want to learn language and go around more. Very weirdly. My own personal experience. I almost can't explain it. I wonder if other people are having anything like that. Are you having anything like that, Vashan?
Oh, definitely. I have made some very different decisions about life based on COVID. I'm actually getting ready to move across the country. I live in North Carolina to Las Vegas. Because of COVID, I realized I didn't want to be that far from my mother.
There you go.
So change my perspective. And I've also been a person who has kind of like not really been like living life too much, like more so like work and all those kinds of things. And now that, you can't do anything, it definitely has changed my perspective. So I do think that the long-term implications of COVID will change us for the better.
You're articulating it. You're telling me that's exactly what I was talking about. And I like you had an experience when I was sick with COVID, where I was lying there incapacitated for like 3 months, and I thought, I'd been completely dead for the last month, and the world did just fine. I could go somewhere for a couple of weeks and enjoy myself without the work. You know what I mean? It just felt like I could disengage meaningfully on purpose, as opposed because an illness knocked me out. That was kind of a weird experience, and that's what led to more desire to move around for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And if
you
don't
it
mind,
with you, Drew.
Yep, go ahead, Sean.
Direct question
please.
about COVID,
please,
and then
please.
I can, move myself back to the audience.
Okay.
I wanted to know your opinion. I'm actually working in something regarding COVID right now, and I've been hearing different conflicting messages from nursing and pregnant mothers as far as their doctors and their directives. And I was just kind of curious, just as an overall general opinion about vaccination and about pregnant and nursing mothers and your thoughts on that.
I'm going to defer that question a little bit to a guy named Dr. Knock. Go on TikTok. Believe it or not, I'm referring you to TikTok. And let's get him back in here, Susan, and we can address these issues. But he has several TikTok. He's a virologist. He's a very excellent clinician. Well, not clinician, scientist. And he has made several very good TikToks addressing this issue. And he puts the data up, and he believes that this is all good news around pregnant women and nursing women. I don't know enough about it to have a strong opinion about it. I do know it's been shifting a little bit and changing, both in terms of whether you are having COVID, you keep nursing, if you've had the vaccine, which vaccine. I would assume, at very minimum, you wouldn't want to get the J&J vaccine if you are a pregnant or recently pregnant woman, because clotting is already not exactly normal in a pregnant state. So you would be talking about the mRNA vaccines, and we are about to get the Novovax vaccine too, right? And that is a wholly different kind of mechanism. And my bet is it's going to be safer than all the other. It's just essentially a protein that you send into the, rather than making your cells produce the protein, this is just the protein. And I have a feeling back when early on, before we knew which vaccines were going to be available, Novavax was the one I wanted because it looked like the most sort of clean to me, most easy to, probably least noisy. I ended up taking Johnson & Johnson, and I got sick from it, but here you go. Thank you, Sean. Really good questions. Thank you, and good luck with the move, and best to your mom. My goodness. Susan, anything from your standpoint? Anything you're thinking?
Somebody was wondering what you thought the impact of that big building crashing down in Florida would be.
What the impact would be?
How it would.
I would tell you, for me, it resurrected weirdly feelings about 9/11, and it was horrible to see that again. Yeah. And what I remembered was, what really got me was not just a building collapsing, but was the desperation of the people, family and friends of somebody who was inside. And I just remember that so vividly from New York.
Yeah, they said a firefighter found his 6-year-old daughter.
I know, it's just beyond.
It's crazy though, because I guess the pool was leaking and it just leaked in crumbled the
concrete. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah,
but that's.
Yeah. Well, how long have we been doing this? About an hour?
46 minutes and 57
46
seconds.
minutes? I'm a little bit tired for some reason today. Yeah.
Here's
maybe Mark.
Because you partied so hard last night.
No, I did not. Mark Met says fluvoxamine cured his long hauler symptoms. Great. It helped mine. So somebody's being helped with it. And I, by the way, had a cytokine profile by covidlonghaulers.com, Dr. Patterson, and my VEGF was abnormal, which is the neurological inflammatory cytokine.
What is that?
VEGF, it's just another inflammatory protein, and it's affected by fluvoxamine. The sigma-1 receptor is very much tied into VEGF. Fluvoxamine helps that one. So if you were to look at my profile, you'd predict that fluvoxamine would help, and
really?
It did. Mm-hmm.
See how you are. Thank you, Steve Kirsch.
Yeah.
You may get us canceled on YouTube on a regular basis, but you saved Drew.
Right. He was yelling at me.
Saved his life.
Denise, what are you talking about? The VEGF, the vascular endothelial growth factor.
I don't see Joe today. I wonder if he's okay.
Maybe he's busy. Kristen, seeing what happened in Florida, the building collapsing is absolutely heartbreaking. There's no reason with building standards, etc., that kind of situation should happen. Yeah. Who imagines that they're in a building that could collapse? It started freaking me out a little bit particularly made me think about ground movement. I mean, Florida's on a swamp essentially, and so it makes you feel like worried about how they do that.
I don't know if anybody saw Drew on Locals live stream yesterday. He was doing like an Instagram live type thing, and all I could see.
I was?
Yeah, you did it for Locals.
Remember? Oh, for Locals. Yeah.
They seem to love it, but yeah. I looked at the video, and honey, I couldn't see you.
I was not there most of the time.
You were I could hear you working out and grunting.
Yes, and then I would go back to the video.
Okay, so Ori at Locals told me you have to do it not horizontally. I'm not landscape,
Sideways.
but portrait.
Okay.
Did you have it in a portrait or did you have it long way?
I don't remember.
Because it seemed you wouldn't be able to see what's below, but it looked like you had it turned the wrong way.
Angry Bear, it is the...
But don't you think people want to see you? When
hold
you're
on, let me talk about that a second. Angry Bear, the mechanism is the Sigma-1 anti-inflammatory. Look up the New England Journal of Medicine article on Sigma-1. It goes through the entire mechanism of Sigma-1 effects, and Prozac and fluvoxamine both stimulate the Sigma-1 system. So they are specific, and fluvoxamine more powerfully than any other antidepressant. So it is particularly suited to that Sigma-1 anti-inflammatory process.
So anyways,
So let me just tell you, that was the model for how I'm going to do it. Listen, we're going to do more of that.
Yeah, but just make sure you're in the picture.
No.
Why?
No.
Why?
Because we're just I'm gonna just put the camera up and start interacting in all situations on locals. That's something I don't do anywhere else.
Yeah, I know, but
they
want to see you.
Did you talk to anybody who was on the stream?
I
Kristen, what do you think of it? Kristen's here. She was there on the stream.
Okay.
How was it?
Kristen, would you like
I'm
to
gonna put
see?
Kristen here. Hold on.
Is she on the
Yes, Kristen Karpinski, come on up to the podium. Kristen.
I'm at the podium. Hi,
yes.
guys.
Hey, so what about
the
locals stream yesterday?
I thought it was nice. The quality was great. There wasn't any lagging.
But Susan is complaining that I didn't sit and stare at the camera, that I went about my business and then came back to the camera.
I couldn't see you.
Well, I told you I grabbed a bag of chips when I saw you start lifting up things that looked heavy. I'm like, all right.
I know, but people want to see how you work out. Like,
no, I don't.
Why?
That makes me feel guilty.
It makes me feel weird. But
you have a nice garage.
Thank you.
Well, you're gonna.
It looked like you were working hard.
Yes,
so
thank you.
Good for you.
Thank you.
My chips were delicious.
And my thing is that stream, the idea of that stream is we will just kind of hang out together. Like I'll set it up in a restaurant if we're out. I'll set it up maybe tomorrow at the party or something. We'll just set it up and hang out. And hanging out means
sounds great.
Hanging out means I'll be doing other stuff, but I'll keep the earpieces in so you can hear what I'm doing. So that's all.
Yeah, there's nothing I like more than seeing and experiencing a party virtually while I'm here at home yelling at people who don't listen to me. Assembling trampolines.
How'd the trampoline turn out?
Well, if anybody wants to experience this firsthand, this special behind the scenes of Dr. Drew, because I'm not producing it, just so you know.
That's right.
Go to drdrew.locals.com and you have to pay us $7. Did you make it free or did you make it
I think I made it for supporters only, but I think the non-supporters can watch. They just can't interact. I think that's how it works.
Oh, okay.
It's the greatest $7 you'll ever spend.
Yeah, so you pay $7 a month and you can pay the year up front if you want. But I don't know.
Hang on. So there's more here to be said on Restream. Tom Cigar said, for the workout part, we have to go to OnlyFans.
That'll cost you $20 a month.
That's so funny.
I'm fine with my $7 for watching
Casey
somebody
pays
else
us $20. Thank you, Casey.
That's right. Kristen, everything good with you?
Yeah. The only thing I have going on is I am bruised. I look like I've been in a rock tumbler.
You've mentioned more than once that you bruised.
Yeah,
what the hell? Is that just that fair skin of
I
yours,
don't know.
or do we have to get an evaluation?
Fair skin.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have really fair skin. My mother bruises easily too, but it's just like from kneeling down, to put together a trampoline, not anything, sexy.
She puts together the trampoline, not her husband.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh, did you get the net like I told you?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Honey, put up the safety mat. I love that. But no, people look at me funny because I have so many bruises on me. And they're like, what happened? I'm like, nothing happened. But
you might want to just get a CBC,
bananas.
ProTime, CBC and a ProTime, blood count and a ProTime, just check it out.
Oh, okay.
Something check out. And by the way, someone keeps asking me about end-stage renal disease, dehydration, emaciation, anorexia, and stroke. Yeah, when you are in end-stage renal disease like that, you can be at risk for all kinds of things. And when you say stroke, I don't know if it's a thrombotic stroke or a vascular event with bleed. I don't know quite what you mean.
Rex
but for sure, you can have central nervous system events in that kind of condition. All right,
Shut
Kristen.
up, dog.
Good to
Shut up.
talk to you.
Hey, you
We'll
guys,
see you
have
over
a
at Local.
very happy holiday. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for connecting with all of us so often.
We are trying.
And
We love you.
again,
Sorry we were gone for so
from-
long.
I know I didn't get to go. It was a really hard decision I had to make to not accompany you. But I know you'll get
Next
over it
time.
in time.
Next cruise.
But a very happy 4th of July to you and to everyone. And I hope you get to spend great time with family and friends and blow some shit up.
We're going to be with
I
the
don't know about that,
Armenians and the Indians.
But thank you, Kristen. And Keith is trying to get my attention, so I'll bring him up. I've tried to get you up before, Keith. It didn't work, so let's try again. Keith, let's see if you can make your way up to the podium. There you are. Hi, Keith. What's going on?
TS is back on YouTube.
Susan, you rule. You live.
You live.
You
I want
live
to thank
too.
you about something and also share something with you, Drew.
All right, Keith.
I want to thank you for being the voice of reason throughout this whole thing. You have no idea how important that has been to our family. You might recall 8 months ago, I reached out to you and said, hey, we're thinking about maybe going to Disney World. This was in November. This was pre-vaccination. I said, I'm getting anxious here. I mean, I got to get out. And you're like, slow your roll. And that really helped.
Good.
I'm fully vaccinated as of February, wife as of April. We went to Disney World. We spent 12 days in beautiful Florida and visiting with friends. And it was just wonderful.
Great.
And I'm glad you're back and had a great trip of your own.
It is interesting. Did you encounter a lot of other people who were sort of desperate to move around just like you?
I would say so. And what was interesting is that at the time that we were at Walt Disney World, it was masks have to be worn everywhere, basically, except for in
same
Europe.
at Disneyland.
Yeah.
They relieved that like maybe a month after we were there, less than a month.
Interesting.
But anyway, yeah, it was nice to get out. And then we've since learned just how effective this vaccine is at there was concern that you might still get it
or transmit or something. Yeah, none of that is true. None of that is true.
We should have just trusted our instincts on that stuff. But anyway, that's actually what leads me to what I want to share with you. This is the fear porn headline of the week.
Ugh.
This was in Sacramento Bee, where I live. California Capitol faces COVID outbreak of 7 new cases, including 2 breakthrough cases. Now, let me talk about those breakthrough cases, Drew.
All right, now let's talk about breakthrough cases. Breakthrough cases are like Bill Maher. They're people that test positive that don't know they're positive. They aren't sick. Or if they are sick, they're very mild. So,
right.
And this is the more important thing, don't seem to be able to transmit.
Right.
They don't transmit. So 2 breakthrough cases is like, who cares?
Yeah, well, let's get into the definition of breakthrough for real in a second. But these 2 breakthrough cases were people who were not vaccinated and were encouraged to go get swabbed.
What are they breaking through? Had they recovered from COVID or something?
I believe they were vaccinated and were encouraged because they were, in the area of it happening.
Oh boy.
Get tested, and then they got tested, and they found some COVID, but they weren't necessarily sick.
No.
And so.
Nor contagious. That's the other thing. Not sick and not contagious.
Since when do we define a breakthrough case?
I know.
As has some of that virus on them, just because other people around them got sick and they're fully vaccinated.
I know. I don't know what to say. I chatted a little bit with Bill Maher about that. He thought it was ridiculous that he was called a breakthrough case.
You would think that it would be, okay, we have a sick person here. Let's test them and see if they've got COVID.
Right.
And then you get a positive test from the lab, rather than getting a positive case, a positive result from the lab, pending any symptoms.
Well, Keith, you bring up a really interesting point, which is that accuracy of a test is determined. This is a formal term in medicine called accuracy. And the accuracy, I'm going to have to put you in the back in the waiting room because your phone's doing something weird here, so give me a second. Accuracy is defined by the probability that the test is going to be positive. In other words, if you have a situation where the doctor thinks that a certain diagnosis is highly likely, the test is more accurate. When you just do testing randomly, it's called screening. And those are notoriously inaccurate. And if you are just screening at the level we screen with the 30 passes on the PCR, you're going to get lots of people that aren't sick, that aren't infected, that have false positives. And even if they're true positives, if they've been vaccinated, they're not going to be sick and they're not going to be contagious. So that's a really important thing. Now, somebody who's had COVID, people can get a second case of COVID. That is very clear now that that can happen. Who's going to get that? Whether the variant increases the risk of that, we don't know. And it appears that although there can be a second case, that for most people who had COVID, the immunity is pretty good and probably pretty sustained, like years, probably, though we don't know for sure yet. And what we do know is that there are 3 different categories of immune response if you had COVID. People whose antibodies fall off very quickly, people whose antibodies fall off over 3 months, and people whose antibodies who persist. Now, in the group where things are diminishing in terms of the humoral immunity, meaning the antibodies circulating in the blood, we really don't know what their cellular immunity, you're starting to hear more about B cells and T cells. They may have very good B cell T cell response and still be quite able to fight off a COVID. But again, it's a moving target. It's an ongoing process where there's so much replication that the virus is altering a little bit, and that's the scary part of all this. I would refer you also to on TikTok at Laughter in Light. It's another virologist who does a very good job of updating the science. So it's at Dr._Noc, N-O-C, where I was referring Vashon to about the pregnant women. And it is at Laughter in Light. She is almost too, I don't want to say too thorough. She's not a clinician, so she has a very low risk threshold, but her science is beyond reproach. It is unassailable. She does a great job of presenting the science. And if you're really interested in these things, those are 2 great places to get it. And they're entertaining. They do very good jobs of presenting it. Okay, I'm going to step out of the Clubhouse room. I appreciate you all that have been in the audience and sitting here patiently listening. I appreciate those of you that came up to speak with us. It's been a lot of fun.
Also, before you go, before you do that, tell everybody where they can find the show and all our other shows, because we're not always doing Club.
So drdrew.com is where you can find most things. Also, drdrew.tv. Also, YouTube/Dr. is where you can find this streaming show we do.
So if you go to drdrew.tv, you can find all the links to all the live shows that we do on the other platforms, and also, come back and type in your questions when we're not doing Clubhouse, and tell a friend.
And if you are a fan of Your Mom's House, you can get that at either your mom's house, at your mom's house, which is the Dr. Drew After Dark podcast. But there's the latest up there with me and Nadav and Annie. So I suggest
Sound of Coming.
Oh Jesus!
I have a little video clip for that.
No, please don't play it.
Why not?
All right, it's just a different thing. That's a different thing. But for those of you who like After Dark,
quick question for you.
Okay.
Every once in a while, after an especially intense orgasm, my hearing goes out.
That kind of sounds like. Did you see that movie, The Sound of Metal?
I've not seen it. I've heard about it.
It's like a metal drummer that loses his hearing. This is kind of like the sound of coming. She's coming so much
the sound of
that
coming.
she's losing.
Annie, that's another T-shirt. So there you go. That's the screwballs in the booth that I work with. And that's at drdrew.com, also at your mom's house. So,
a little plug anyways. Yeah. But also, you can also find Drew on the Adam and Drew Show. You can also find him on the Dr. Drew podcast. Whoa. And all the links are also available on drdrew.com. So if you want more than just Clubhouse, you can find us there.
All right. Thank you in Clubhouse. I'm quietly leaving. Thank you. And for those of you on the restream, let me pay a little attention to you guys here as best I can. Thank you, Casey. Let's see.
Love you, Casey.
Yeah. Quick conversation. Okay, hold on. I'm just going back through the scroll to see if there's any. Christopher, I had a mild concussion last Thursday. I've been seeing my primary doctor. Blood pressure's been up. He says that's normal. No dizziness. Started to feel better. Went out walking and had 3 minutes later high blood pressure again. Should I be concerned? Christopher, I don't know how old you are, but high blood pressure in itself is no big deal, particularly after what you've been dealing with here. I mean, if your diastolic, the bottom number is above 120 and your systolic is above 180, I mean, you're going to want to do something about that pretty quickly, but not urgently necessarily even. And blood pressure that's mildly elevated takes years to hurt you. Again, you'll want to do something about it if it stays up, but you have plenty of time to keep monitoring it. It's not as though a single reading is something to be concerned about. So that's with the concussion. I'm sorry I had the concussion. Maybe you'll get able to speak Greek like me, or have a Chinese accent, or some accent that you didn't have before. Okay, so. All right. Any resource available? People have bad reaction to COVID shot, CDC. Okay. Sturza, go to covidlonghaulers.com. They are very helpful with the persistent reactions people are having to the vaccine. So covidlonghaulers.com. You can get some treatment for some of the people are getting long hauler after the vaccine. And they have a cohort where they're looking at specifically that have had that issue.
Dr. Yo said that he'll set you up in August to help him.
Oh, yeah, I'll be seeing some of the evaluations as well. David, back pain, numbness in your legs after driving, urinary pain. I mean, that's not Cauda-Equina syndrome. That may be disc disease. It definitely should be evaluated, but I wouldn't be in a panic about it, that's for sure. FBI informants, let's see. Are we having Liza Blue back on? Is that happening too?
We can.
Okay, so she might come back on, talk about
she said
sex
she
trafficking.
would. I just haven't set it up yet.
Cody, we talked at
She's gonna
length
be at
about
Freedom Fest too, though.
Well, maybe we'll do something from there. Cody, we talked about the Delta variant at length. It does not worry me really at all. It's more contagious variants will come and they will take over. And as long as the vaccines still cover and people with COVID are still immune and the virus itself is not more virulent, it's not more concerning. Okay, so let's kind of wrap things up here. We appreciate you being here. Do we have any knowledge about what's coming in next week?
I'm sorry?
Do you know who's coming in next week?
Oh, yeah, we have a guest, that doctor that Michelle got. I can't remember the name, though.
Okay.
Sorry.
Cunningham?
I think so, yeah.
All right.
I don't know if she knew to change it to 4 o'clock. It'll be Tuesday at 4 o'clock.
Okay, and we're gonna do something Monday as well.
And then Thursday we'll do something too, and then probably an Ask Dr. Drew. I would say on Wednesday.
Okay.
But we're gonna have a new format. We're gonna do doctors on Tuesdays and politics on Thursdays, and Ask Dr. Drew on Wednesday.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then if we do, we'll do something like this, on the weekend. We won't be able to take callers on Clubhouse, but we'll be able to just talk to people if we're here, we will.
The Clubhouse caller thing is up there. Chiron is still up there.
Sorry.
But
I'm lazy today.
That's nice.
What can
that's
I
a
say?
nice little
it's
feature.
Saturday. Okay.
Nice feature.
Got rid of it. Thank you, honey.
Well done. All right. Thank you guys for all being here. Thank you, everybody in Restream. We'll see you over at Locals.
Don't forget to buy a blue mic, okay?
Blue mic and
some Hydrolyte.
Optech, the wand is still amazing. You want to put that up there?
Yeah, I will.
I love those guys. That company is amazing. They've got so many great products.
Come be a local on drg.locals.com. That's our sort of semi-Patreon page, and we appreciate everybody's support.
Okay, and we'll see you on Monday or Tuesday? Monday?
I don't know.
Monday or Tuesday. Definitely Tuesday.
Yeah, we have a guest.
Possibly Monday, so we'll see you then.
Because we have a big party tomorrow, but probably
going to a wedding.
Well, no plans yet, but we will.
I am so grateful for our friends at Blue Microphones. Not only have they completely changed what our show sounds like, they've given me headphones so I can monitor things better. This is the mic for millions of creative people, and now I know why. I'm so grateful for them completely changing the quality of our audio. You'll find Blue mics like Yeti and the Mouse, which we're using here, both in pro studios and home studios, literally all over the world. Their popular Yeti caster is a Blue Yeti microphone, plus a boom arm system that's behind many of your favorite podcasts. I run into them all the time, and now I know why. If you've ever thought about creating your own podcast or YouTube channel, Blue can make you sound and look great. Just visit bluemic.com and click Get Started, and you can start telling your story.